there, everybody, and welcome to this, our first ever Spotlight episode of Payday. This is also the start of our weekly schedule, which is pretty exciting and pretty crazy. I mean, it's going to be a lot of hard work for me. Tom, by the way, my name is Tom. I should really get better at introducing myself, but I'm here on my own this week to bring you the spotlight on my favorite Pokemon, Mimikyu. So, this was a whole project that I came up with where first week of every month I would have a new guest on and they would tell me what their favorite Pokemon is and we would discuss it and we'd talk about its biology, the Pokemon's sort of data, some useful moves that it has, its base stats, and different movesets that we'd use for it, and maybe some team options as well. Like, I'm not a huge competitive Pokemon player, but I've got some ideas, and you only need to do a little bit of research to work out what Pokemon work well. So I haven't necessarily built teams around this Pokemon, but I've got some nice sort of pairings and some reasons. But really, I wanted this to kind of be a community show. I want you guys listening to reach out to me. I want you to let me know. I want you to say, Tom, I want to be on this show with you, and come and join me because I'm always up for meeting new people and making new friends. And honestly, that's like my favorite part about doing this podcast is that so far I've been able to meet and talk to so many great people. Like, really, it blows my mind. It's so nice just knowing that there's a community of people out there that are such big fans of Pokemon that they want to come in and just talk about it with just some crazy nerds like me. So let's get into it. This is Mimikyu. So Mimikyu is my favorite Pokemon. I actually have. Sorry, I'm gonna plug this, but it's kind of relevant. I've got this YouTube channel, Instagram page called Trainer Mimic. It's like my online persona, I guess, for lack of a better term, and it's a Pokemon that is just near and dear to my heart. It's been my favorite Pokemon for the whole 3 years that it's been around now, and I've based the whole channel around it. I've got nice Mimikyu artwork and. Yeah, I just love it. It's a great Pokemon. So let's get into it. It is tiny for a start. Like, I find it hard to picture it being this tiny, but it is 0 0.2 meters. That is 20 centimeters. That's very small. Like, really, really small. But apparently the head is not included in that. So that's just the body, which I kind of like because it's inside a suit, like a little costume. So I guess the head wouldn't count anyway because it's held up by a support. So he's bigger than 20 centimeters. He's probably more like 40 centimeters. He's the head is half of the body, but yeah, I love how they didn't. I had to do my research. I didn't even realize that. So I'm glad it's not as small as that. But what a nice detail that they chose to just show the height of the actual Pokemon under the rag and not the set of rags that it chooses to wear. It's also super light. It's only 1.5 pounds. I mean, I guess it is just a little ghost in a rag, so. Maybe the most of the weight is just that stick that it carries around. But it has a completely unique typing of Ghost and Fairy. Two types that I kind of love. I don't think I've loved Fairy on purpose. It just kind of fell into my lap that way. I've said this before a few times, my three favorite Pokemon kind of, other than Weavile, is Mimikyu, Azumarill, and Whimsicott. And they all happen to be Fairy types, so my dream team kind of looks like I'm a Fairy gym leader, but really, I just love those Pokemon for different reasons. So, Mimikyu is actually weakened by sunlight, so it wears its rags to stay protective. And it also does so because when people see its true form, it can cause illness or painful death. So, it covers itself up not only to protect itself, but to protect others. So, instantly, it's got my vote for being just the sweetest little thing that just doesn't mean to hurt anyone, but it just does. And its rags are modelled after Pikachu, so that other Pokemon and people will want to be friends with it. That was when I read that originally, because when Sun and Moon were first announced, I was kind of in a bit of a media blackout. I was trying not to spoil anything about these games, and it was really, really hard. And I managed to go a couple of months, I think, before I had to just flip the lid on that and just spill out all of the spoilers. And I went straight onto Cerebi and I looked at the new Pokemon page and I just looked at these new Pokemon and I went through them for ages. I'm reading about all of them and I got to Mimikyu and I was like, what is this? And it's just a weird little Pikachu thing, and then I just read that it wanted to be friends with Pokemon and people, and it just made me so sad, and just so, like, I was in love with this Pokemon, so it was just, yeah, it was just then. That was it, and nothing's changed since. And apparently, if its rags are damaged or broken, it will spend all night repairing them, and it gets very sad and cries, and it also swears revenge on whoever it was that damaged its rags. So not only is it sweet and cute and sad and huggable and you just want to protect it, it is also like feisty and it will fight you. And it will get anybody. And he doesn't need anyone to take care of him, so love it. It also has its own signature Z move, Let's Snuggle Forever, which was one that was added later in Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon, and was a weird, like, interesting one. It's really weird. Like, it kind of reminded me of, like, a Tim Burton movie when I use it. So you can only use it if you've got Play Rough on your Mimikyu and you're equipping a Mimikyu Z, and it just, like, jumps up in the air and lands on the opponent, and, like, somehow the rags, like, expand and can stretch, like, super big because it covers up the Pokemon, and, like, what you can imagine is, like, the Mimikyu inside the rags is, like, punching and beating it up and, like, going crazy with, like, all this fairy energy and, like, just beating the crap out of these Pokemon. Yeah, pretty cool. I liked it. I've been using it. That's, like, my signature Z move now. Like, whenever I've used Z moves, it's always Mimikyu. And it's only found in Alola at the Thrifty Megamart on Ula Ula Island, which is not the Thrifty Megamart on Akala Island, I want to say, which you can shop in, and there's, like, always a discount in there or something. It's the abandoned site on Ula Ula Island that was then moved to Akala Island. So it's kind of nice. Like, it hangs out and there's, like, back storage room and you can find it, but it's really rare. And I think you have to kind of, like, what's that word? Use the adrenaline orb and they call for backup. Yeah, you have to, like, do that until it shows up. One thing I didn't realize is base stats are actually not that high. Like, I kind of, in my head, I figured it was a really strong Pokemon that had really high base stats, but it really doesn't. Its special defense is 105, making it its highest stat, which I was surprised at. I didn't really ever think of Mimikyu as a bulky Pokemon, so it really made me think about what I could be doing with Mimikyu to make it a better Pokemon. But its speed and attack follow on with 96 in speed and 90 attack. So, I mean, nothing great, but nothing to scoff at, I guess, either. Like, the speed could do with a bit of a boost, but the attack is made better because its ability Disguise is really good. So when it takes a hit, it will absorb it completely and not take any damage, but its Disguise will be busted. So it's kind of sad. You never want to hurt your Mimikyu because you just think, like, when it gets hurt in battle, like, it's going to cry later, it's going to put it together and it's going to swear revenge. Probably on you, the trainer, for being the asshole that sent it into battle to let that happen to it. So, if you've got a Mimikyu, just take care of it. That's all I can say. Just help, like, prepare its costume after. It gets access to Swords Dance, which is great. So, I mean, you can take that first turn to get hit to set up a Swords Dance, and all of a sudden your attack is going a lot higher than 90. It's pretty tough. Here's some notable moves that I looked up and found that I think would be good on a Mimikyu, depending on how you're using it. So we've got Wood Hammer, Shadow Sneak, Shadow Claw, Play Rough, Swords Dance, Pain Split, Leech Life, Will-O-Wisp, Swords Dance, X Scissor, Trick Room, Destiny Bond, and Splash. You may laugh at that last one, but apparently Z-Splash is pretty good because it actually increases Mimikyu's attack stat further than a Swords Dance would. Didn't know that. Personally, I wouldn't, but I could see why people would. The set that I always use is either Adamant or Jolly. Personally, I like Adamant, even though I've just said that the speed could do with a boost. I like the Adamant because I like to hit hard. Because I use Shadow Sneak, so I put 252 in attack. This is EVs, by the way. 252 in speed and 4 in special defense. And I'll give it a Mimikyu Z, but I've also put Life Orb because Life Orb is pretty good. And then I've got Swords Dance, Shadow Sneak, Shadow Claw, and Play Rough. So basically, like I said before, it's a really predictable, easy. I love it, nevertheless. So you use the first turn to set up a Swords Dance. then you kind of, if you can, you keep setting up, but this is kind of your chance to sweep. So Shadow Sneak is good because it's got priority, so it can hit hard. It's got stab. It's a good way to hit. It's a good way to get some damage off pretty early on. But you know, it's up to you. I've seen a couple of sets where it uses Trick Room and Will-O-Wisp and Destiny Bond, for example, and Pain Split, and like it works as a really good like bulky special defensive bulk support Pokemon that can just like really fuck with the opponent. So do with it what you like. I think it's great. I think it's really good. So apparently it shares similarities with the Bugu Noz, which is a Bretta myth. I'm sorry if I butchered that, by the way, but it's late. It's like 1:30 in the morning right now, and it's actually my birthday today, so be nice to me. I mean, not when this airs. It will actually be a couple of days after my birthday. Right now, it is Wednesday, the 27th of February. Happy Pokemon Day, everybody. I hope Gen 8 was good. I hope you heard nice things about Gen 8. There's going to be no self-insert here. I'm just really excited. I'm super excited. I don't know when it's coming for me, but when I wake up in the morning, first thing I'm doing is checking Cerebi. So hopefully it was good. Anyway, back to this. It's a Breton myth about a kind and gentle fairy spirit whose horrifying ugliness causes it to be perpetually alone. Bit sad. Okay, so team options. Okay, so I've got like a kind of team here, but I wouldn't ever suggest trying it. Maybe I'll try it and I'll tell you how it goes in the next episode, or you know, I got some plans. We'll see. But my first option was Shuckle. You can use sticky webs and it lowers the opponent's speed while entrance. Pretty good for a Mimikyu because, like we said, it's not super fast. I mean, 96 is good, but it can be outsped very quickly by a lot of Pokemon out there. So having sticky webs is a good one. Good support. This is in doubles as well. Good support would be Magnezone because Magnezone can trap steel type Pokemon in and can stop the opponent from switching out into a steel type as well. So, I mean, you've got ways of taking it out. Ash Greninja can set up entry hazards, and because of the access to Mega evolving kind of with its Ash Greninja form, I mean, it's pretty strong. Makes a good, like, additional Pokemon. And Heatran is good because it can also set entry hazards. Are you seeing, like, a trend here? Like, you want to set up a lot of entry hazards for this, and you want to keep Mimikyu alive for, you know, as long as possible. And Heatran would be a good offense to steel types as well, so you can hit hard, fire type moves, knock them out, you know, get rid of them. And finally, Snorlax. Apparently, Belly Drum Snorlax with a Mimikyu using Trick Room, real good. You can use Will-O-Wisp as well, Destiny Bond when you're in trouble. But that Belly Drum Snorlax is going all the way, and he's gonna be the sweeper of your team because he's suddenly really fast all of a sudden because like he's a really slow Pokemon, so Trick Room makes him super quick. You've got Mimikyu supporting him from the side, like just setting up. Like that's a really great team. I'd like to see a tag team GX of that because that is like a Pokemon card that I would want. Speaking of Pokemon cards, there is a Pokemon card for Mimikyu that I want to talk about. It is the Gengar and Mimikyu GX card. So I've been wanting this card for a while. I talked about it on the last episode of Payday from last week. I was trying to get it, and I bought like booster boxes trying to get it, and I was struggling, and I just could not get it. It was so hard. And then eventually, like the other day, last night, in fact, I gave up, and I bought it as a single outright with a couple of other sets of cards with like an EVGX box as well. So I'm quite happy. I'm getting an EVGX to add to my deck, and I'm getting a Gengar and Mimikyu GX. So there's really no reason to buy Pokemon cards now because I've been buying them this month because I wanted this card, and I just Team Up was great. It was a great set, and it was a terrible set at the same time. There's some really bad cards in there, and there's some really good cards, but Gengar and Mimikyu GX was the whole reason I started buying them, and I didn't get it, so I have got it now. I got my two buddies. So I'm going to quickly go into this. I'm not a huge TCG player, but you guys want to hear this, I'm sure. So for 2 Psychic Energies, you've got the move Poltergeist, which does 50 damage times. Your opponent reveals their hand. This attack does 50 damage for each trainer card you find there. Potential to be good, I don't know. I guess I'll find out when I play it. Watch this space. Maybe there'll be a YouTube video coming up someday. One day. Who knows? And for 1, there's Horror House. GX, so you can only use this move once, and if you do, your other GX Pokemon can't use a GX attack, so why not? Sure, try it. So your opponent can't play any cards from their hand during their next turn. If this Pokemon has at least one extra Psychic Energy attached to it, in addition to this attack's cost, each player draws cards until they have 7 cards in their hand. That is pretty decent. I mean, like, it stalls your opponent for a whole turn. I wouldn't say it's the best, but, like, it's decent. And you can draw cards, which is good, but your opponent can also draw cards, so bit of a double-edged sword there. I'm not sure, but it's kind of cool. So, it's got 240 hit points, which is pretty strong, I guess. I like that. And that was the card. I mean, that was basically the only thing I want to talk about with that card. It is pretty decent, though. I like it. Do you know what? This is not as long as I thought it was going to be. I'm sorry if this is a shorter episode, but next time there's going to be a guest and they can be talking about their favorite Pokemon. So I imagine this is going to go on for a long time because I like to do this as well. And we can both come up with our teams and we can both come up with our Pokemon together. But for now, this is just the first one. This is the beginning of what I hope to be many more. And I really enjoy Mimikyu. I want to use Mimikyu forever and ever and ever, and I plan on it. So please get involved. I hope you guys did enjoy this. And you know what? I want you to message me. I want you to contact me. I've got a few ways that you can contact me through the podcast. Let me just get those up for you now, and we can hammer this out because there's a lot of ways that you can get involved with this segment because this is something I want everyone to be involved in. Okay, so we are on Twitter and Instagram at Pokemon Payday, and we also have an email which is PokemonPayday@gmail.com. So any of those work for me. Twitter's good. You can email me. I'm happy. Just send me a little message saying, "Hi Tom, this is my favorite Pokemon and I want to talk about it. Let me on your show," and I will love to meet you and chat to you and get you on this show. So yeah, please do. If not, next month, I guess, I'll be talking about my next favorite Pokemon, and we're just going to keep going until one of you guys feel sorry enough for me to join me. But I got friends. Don't believe me if you want, but I have got some friends, so there's going to be people coming on. But yeah, thanks so much for listening, guys. I hope you enjoyed this, and next week, there's going to be a bit of a longer episode. We got the 2-week hurdle coming up, and a little teaser. I've got 2 guests. I've got no Matt again. Matt's not here, but I got 2 guests. So there's 3 people talking. That's like the most people that you can have talking. Like before it turns into like a big jumbled mess. So I'm rambling, but enjoy, and I'll catch you guys in a week. Yeah, hopefully that payday comes around for you pretty soon, but you might have to wait a few weeks longer.